Hello. Today we're going to be talking about showing causality, which sounds kind of boring, but it's actually very practical and useful skill. Cause and effect arguments are everywhere in politics. Since I came into office, the crime rate has decreased, the economy has increased, the world is at peace. The politician is implying that he or she caused all these wonderful things. Advertising. Product X will make you happy, sexy, young, beautiful, energetic, healthy, smart, and tall. It cause and effect. Product X causes these things. Love, marry me, baby, and you'll be happy. Promise, right? Cause, marry me, effect, happiness. Health, I ate that cheese, then I got sick. All right, that cheese made me sick. Um, but showing how cause X produces result Y is actually a lot more complicated than just some simple slogan. One way to see this is to start with the idea of correlation. Correlation just means that X and Y are connected. The two things are connected in some way. So for example, I could do a study. I could take 10 students and I could label S for anybody who studied for the test, NS for anybody who didn't study, P for anybody who passed, NP for those who didn't pass. Student 1 studied, passed. Student 2 studied and passed. Student 3 studied and passed. Student 4 studied and passed. And then there's that smarty pants who never has to study, and she still passed. And then number 6 didn't study, didn't pass. 7 didn't study, didn't pass. Didn't study, didn't pass. Didn't study, didn't pass. And then this poor number 10 studied, still didn't pass. All right. So you can see they're not 100% correlated, but strongly correlated nevertheless. A 0.8 correlation is what they'd use in psychology, 80% correlation. So that means that studying and passing the test, in this instance, were very strongly correlated. But correlation does not equate with causality. There are a lot of things that are correlated that are not cause and effect. Raincoats and umbrellas, they're correlated. People often wear raincoats at the same time that people are using umbrellas. Doesn't mean that the raincoats cause the umbrellas or the umbrellas cause the raincoats. So just because two things happen together or in correlation doesn't mean that they cause each other. Garlic and onions. Whenever I use onions, I use garlic, pretty much. But that doesn't mean the garlic causes the onions to be cooked. Shoes and socks, they're correlated, no cause and effect really. Pumpkins and Halloween, swimsuits and cold drinks, those things don't cause each other. There's some other factor that's causing them, that causes them to be correlated. So two things could be correlated, but not cause and effect connected. And that's an important point. So let's take a very practical case to look at this. So I read an article and the headline of the article said $75,000 a year correlates to happiness. Now, if it very, very well measured reporters will put that, but it doesn't sound exciting. More common I saw, $75,000 a year makes you happy. Notice, correlated is one thing, makes you happy means it causes you to be happy. So that, and in fact, $75,000 a year and happiness are correlated. There are studies saying if you have a certain threshold of income, your level of happiness tends to be, pretty decent. Below that, you tend to be less happy. Above that, you don't get that much happier. But about 75, it's about the magic spot where you hit a decent amount of happiness for that much. Now, having said that, there are other possible cause and effect relationships. It's entirely possible that $75,000 a year causes you to be happy. And that's what this little cause and effect arrow is intended to represent. $75,000 causes you to be happy. Totally possible. It's also possible happiness causes $75,000 a year. What? So think about it this way. If you're a happy person already, regardless of how much you make, you're happy, you enjoy your job, you go to work, with a smile on your face and you work hard because you really like your job, well, you're probably going to be more successful at the job than somebody who's all grumpy and grousy. And maybe you're more likely to get more money. I don't know. I'm just positing this as another possible way that 75,000 and happiness could be correlated. So in other words, the money could cause the happiness. Could be the happiness causes the money. Other causal factors could be maybe there's an X factor. Maybe there's something that causes both happiness and 75,000 a year. For example, if you're in a job where you have a lot of power, you're the boss, everybody has to listen to you. You get to make your own decisions. You have autonomy. You get to pick your own work hours, maybe. Maybe that causes you to be happy. And it just happens that those kind of jobs also pay well. So this X factor, we'll call it status in this case, causes both happiness and that salary. Okay, so that's another possible. I'm just saying this is possible. I'm not saying it's necessary, but it's possible. Another way to look at this is that there's an X factor again, but it's intermediary. The money leads to something, and that something leads to happiness. So for example, money leads to security. Sure. And what provides happiness really is the security. Security makes people happy. So if you could be secure without the $75,000 a year, maybe you'd be happy. Or maybe status is the X factor. Money raises your status to a certain level. You're making more money than everybody around you. And maybe that's what causes happiness, just having more money than the people around you. Maybe if I were around people who all made $1 million a year, and those are all my friends, maybe I wouldn't be so happy anymore. Maybe $75,000 wouldn't do the trick for me. So maybe the key factor is status. Another way to look at causality is what we call circular causality. The money causes happiness, and the happiness causes more money, et cetera, et cetera. It's a circle, a virtuous circle in this case. Probably in reality, multiple factors are really at play. $75,000 helps. Health is another thing. Relationships, a nice job, all kinds of things cause happiness. So the point here is that correlation does not necessarily connect to causality. And there are a lot of different ways to look at the causal relationships. So when you read in the newspaper that COVID-19 is correlated with something, infection is correlated with something else. Well, it's possible it's cause and effect. It's possible it's something else. When you see, being of a certain ethnicity is correlated with a certain educational outcomes. Well, it could be because of the ethnicity. It could be because of racial attitudes. It could be because of other things. It could be this is the culture. Or it could be that people in this group tend to be wealthier or tend to be poor. Maybe it's the money that really helps you be educationally successful. I don't know. It's very complicated. And unfortunately, news articles are often not very good at picking up on these nuances. And a lot of politicians, of course, are going to manipulate this to gain advantage of you. One thing to watch out for, especially with regard to cause and effect, is the post hoc fallacy. The post hoc fallacy is short for post hoc ergo propter hoc. It means after the fact, therefore because of the fact. It means first X happened, then Y happened, therefore X caused Y. It's confusing correlation with causality. Here's some examples. Since I came into office, the crime rate has decreased, the economy has increased, the world is at peace, so vote for me. This is a post hoc fallacy. They're claiming that they caused this thing. I ate a plate of vegetables, my back started aching terribly. I'm sticking with meat now, all right? One thing happened, then the other, therefore one caused the other. Kids do this all the time, especially with vegetables. I made an offering to Bastet, the Egyptian goddess of cats. Later that day, I got the winning lottery ticket. From now on, I'm going to devote my life to caring for cats. All right, again, religion has a lot of this too. One thing happened, then another. it must be because of God. It must be because some whatever, okay? Uh, this is all over the place. Post hoc fallacy is so common, and it's a very tricky one to notice. Now, I'm going to have you, oops, let me go back up there. I'm going to have you read this, and please take a few minutes to pause the video and read this. Here, the writer has avoided using the post hoc fallacy, and I want you to try to identify how the writer has done this. So pause the video and read it and analyze it. So to avoid the post hoc fallacy, you need to do three things. So first, you've got to show that there is a correlation. One thing happens, another thing happens. Second, you need to show how X causes Y. How is it that the one thing causes the other? Third, you need to eliminate competing causes or other causes. So the basic argument here is that one of the causes of obesity is the change in people's work habits. And the writer, first of all, shows a correlation. Past employment was physical and people were fit. Current employment is sedentary and people are overweight. So there's one correlation. Another correlation is Uncle Mike. His weight gain was correlated with his change of job. And then studies showing a correlation between a sedentary job and a weight gain. So that's one step. Step one is showing a correlation. Step two, you got to show the process. How is it that the job leads to the weight? Okay, what are the steps that, and so you gotta fill in the intermediary steps. So it's pretty simple. When you do physical activity, then you burn calories. When you burn calories, you tend to lose weight. When you sit at a desk, you don't burn calories, so you gain weight. And also when you sit at a desk, you eat more snacks, so you gain weight. Pretty simple, basic causality, pretty easy to understand. But it's important to show that and make it explicit for your reader. Last of all, deal with competing causes. And in this case, as probably you ought to do in most cases, is to admit, yeah, there are a lot of causes for obesity. But you want to try to emphasize why this particular one merits special emphasis. It's underappreciated, maybe not always under our control, or maybe it is under our control. But you have to deal with competing causes one way or another. In other words, you either have to eliminate and say, no, those aren't the real causes, or you have to say, well, yeah, they're cause a little bit, but they're not so important. This, what I'm talking about, is what's important. Pay careful attention to causal arguments. They're prevalent. They're all over the place. And so often the writer's using the post hoc fallacy or the speaker. It's rife with manipulation. This is a great way to control people, is by saying this, okay? Well, this is happening. It's all because of those baddies over there who were messing us up, or those people, my political opponents, are the cause of it all. Vote for me, right? It's so open to manipulation. So be really careful and notice it. Pay attention, because you don't want to be manipulated. And the other thing is, it's important to know the true causes. Cause and effect is the essence of science, really. It's like, what causes this disease? What causes these things? And we've made tremendous progress by knowing true causes. And you can make a lot of progress in your own life by truly identifying the real causes of what's happening out there. All right? Take care.